So let's get into our first topic now. Is Trump's 10% tariff on the UK some kind of proof that Brexit was the right decision for Britain? Now, we're taking your calls on this now, so get in touch. And, well, Lynn, we've waited long for some Brexit benefits. Is this one of them?
I think it's definitely one of them. We have heard Trump's commentary, as well as Vance, how critical they are of the EU. We have heard that there is overwhelming support of what we did in terms of Brexit. It's no surprise that the EU has received higher tariffs, and I don't see how this could be a bad thing. Many people have criticised Brexit. Yes, I'm not going to say it delivered all the benefits that many probably thought, but with any divorce, it takes time, and now we're seeing that this is one of the benefits, definitely.
And did you agree?
Well, I mean, what situation we're in? People seem to be applauding or celebrating the fact that we've not been attacked quite so badly as Europe by the whims of a madman. That's the situation we're in at the moment. Our exports are down 30%, it's estimated in recent studies, because of the EU. And let's not forget the difference. The exports to the EU are 42%. Of the UK exports, 356 billion, 60 billion to the US, that's only 15%. So yes, we've not been hit quite so badly as Europe, but if you're someone who's running a business in this country who has trade with Europe and you're struggling with the impact of Brexit still, as many are, you're not going to go, oh, I'm going to send them over to America now that they're 10% more expensive due to tariffs. You know, that's not going to help the British economy. All it means is that he's attacked us less.
But can we stop calling this attack? Or he had an overwhelming mandate to bring industry back into America, to make things better for America. And I think many people in America are backing this. In 2023, he had some of the lowest tariff barriers, trade barriers. And now he's essentially saying, you know, we have some of the highest tariffs. Why would we not do the same? That's why it's reciprocating what other countries are doing to America.
Well, there's a lot of questions about how exactly they've calculated what they're doing. For example, the calculations of how much the EU charges them, they really disagree by quite a large margin. The US thinks it's quite high. The EU say, actually, when you look at it, it's between 2 and 5%. I mean, it's fair to say that we're not the only ones getting the 10% treatment. Brazil, Turkey, Argentina, El Salvador, Peru and Chile have all ended up with 10%, so exactly the same as the UK. Now, the Conservatives' trade spokesperson, Andrew Griffith, has said that the Brexit dividend will have protected thousands of jobs and businesses. So is he right? Is this proof that it was the right decision? I mean, one thing, Lynn, that we should say is that our biggest good export to the US is cars. That is the biggest value. Out of the 60 billion worth of trade that we do exporting, 9 billion is that. And cars have got a 25% tariff on them, same as everywhere around the globe. So, and that's where the IPPR estimated that that kind of tariff could cost 25,000 jobs.
Yeah.
That we're not getting out of.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think of course it's not a good thing. However, we got off extremely lightly versus other countries. So we have to still see this as some sort of win. And like I said previously, Americans want to see industry brought back into America. They want to see America flourish. Yes, it could be potentially bad initially, but we cannot, as the West, and I think America are leading on this, we cannot continue to rely on other countries to do the majority of manufacturing. So I can't see how
Where does it end? This is the problem. We're all going to become populist isolationists. We're all going to become Japan during the Sakoku period and shut ourselves off. No ships in, no ships out. You know, America actually invented global trade as we know it. It's actually one of their greatest inventions. It's one of their greatest gifts to us as modern human beings. And now they're shutting it down because of this guy.
But why should they receive higher? Why should they have to, you know, deal with higher tariffs?
They're the richest, most powerful economy on earth, and so naturally smaller economies are going to want to protect themselves.
But I mean, there is an irony that Donald Trump says this is so unfair. Everything's so unfair. So we've been treated so badly.
Even with NATO, they pay the most. Why should they have to?
That's true, but it keeps saying this is so unfair.
They're the richest, most powerful country on earth.
We've been treated so badly, and yet they are still the richest, most powerful country on earth, which is a bit confusing.
And the largest consumers, so why would they not increase the tariff?
Let's speak to Gary, who's waiting to talk to us from Kent. Gary, good morning. Do you see this as a Brexit dividend? The UK got charged 10% on tariffs, but the EU 20%.
not at all, because as I was talking to your researcher, our exports and imports from the States are about 50-50. He's threatened by the EU, and the only way you can take Trump seriously is if he's threatened by somebody. And as I say, at the end of the day, we're a service economy, not a manufacturing economy. And I really don't think that Trump is worried about the UK whatsoever. And also remember that we've only got 10% on imported goods from the States.
So why is he, if he's not threatened by us, why are we getting this 10% tariff?
We're getting 10% tariff because it's across the board, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you said, our trade, we export 57.9. The UK exports actually 60 billion, and we import 57 billion. So I mean, it's a rounding error. It's about 3 billion different. Why is he still punishing the UK?
Well, that's nothing in the terms of the state's economy, is it? 3
Well,
billion.
you say it's nothing, but it's going to cost jobs here. It's that 25% on cars, 9 billion's worth of cars. That's estimated to cost quite a few thousand jobs in the UK.
Yeah, I know, and that is a terrible shame. But at the end of the day, you're saying, was it a Brexit benefit? How much have we lost by being outside?
So you think actually we've lost a lot more by not being part of the EU than we ever are going to save from that 10% discount?
Oh, I really do. It's ridiculous. The comparison is ridiculous. Talk to businesses.
We've lost Gary's right. Sorry, Gary. We've lost 30% of our exports. And you asked the question, why is Trump giving us 10% and Europe 20%? Because he's a stirrer and he's using us as a patsy to annoy, almost swore then, to annoy the EU. Another reason, Keir Starmer did a very good job of sucking up to Trump and offering that second visit, the second state visit, which, by the way, we should cancel.
Well, OK, that's another debate.
Yeah, but OK, we are not happy we have 25% on cars. We're not happy we have 10%. But as I said, we have got off lightly when we look at the other countries and what he's imposed on them.
Don't you feel like we're cowards? Thank you so much for only giving us 10%. We're so grateful.
This whole idea that Great Britain can, do anything more and we are the strength we used to be. I'm seeing people, say, let's retaliate. Do you know how much we rely on gas now? We've increased our import of gas from the US. So imagine then, I don't think we're going to see the end here. Trump has been very explicitly vocal on his disdain for the EU, and I think he's only going to
the legacy of our special relationship it should count for something.
And I think the only reason why we have 10% is probably because the current government was so negative, was so derogatory towards Trump when they should have been more balanced, knowing he possibly could get in.
They made up for that now.
OK, let me just go back to Gary. Gary, do you think, perhaps you're right, the financial hit that we've taken being outside of the EU is not going to make up for that 10% less tariffs that we've just received? But let me put this other argument to you, that perhaps because we are now outside of the EU, we can negotiate that all-elusive trade deal that we've been trying to negotiate with the US, whereas the EU, they have to negotiate as a bloc. That's going to be trickier. And as we mentioned, both Andy and Lynn have been saying, and it's true, that Donald Trump sees the EU as an enemy. He's been quoted as saying that they've been put together to destroy the US economy. Are we a bit more nimble because we're outside of the EU?
Do you really think, at the end of the day, that Trump is going to give the UK a good deal that doesn't benefit the States? That's what a negotiator does. At the end of the day, we're going to be flooded with cheap food, chlorinated chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And for what? And for what at the end of the day? For what?
Gary, thank you. I mean,
it's funny, isn't it?
What do you make of Gary's point there, Lynn? That actually,
I don't think our food standards will drop. That's one
Trump's
of the...
already said about the EU. The reason he's done it is because they don't take American chickens.
I think the UK, we pride ourselves on being that little bit more healthier than the US.
But what do you not fear, though, that, for example, it has been rumoured that Keir Starmer has dropped the digital services tax, right? There's £800 million worth of taxes that would be paid by Google, Meta, X, all those big companies. Now, that's done to appease Donald Trump, to avoid that 20% tariff that went to the EU and we got only 10. But if we start giving him everything he asks for, Gary's right, isn't it?
Okay,
we're going to end up with a deal that's worse for us and better for the US.
I understand that, but as Gary said, we are massively led by services. What would be the alternative? When I hear people take this stance, this strong-armed Great Britain approach, what do we really have now that we can actually...
Well, so you're saying we're weaker? Because had we been part of the EU, we would have been stronger. We would have been part of a trading bloc of 450 million people.
I don't think we would have been stronger because, as you said, we're more nimble. We can actually... What plays into our hands is that Trump does have a special relationship or a fondness for the UK.
Do you really believe that way?
I do think he has it may not be as strong as before, or maybe if, Reform or Conservatives were still in, because he does not really like the Labour government. And who can blame him with the comments that they've made?
This is also depressingly isolationist. We're following his pattern here. We used to have a belief in this country that we were part of something, that we were part of the European Union, that we actually had an interest in the benefits of our neighbours.
Democratic say on who led the EU.
By leaving, please let me finish my point. By leaving the EU, we have let down our partners, France, Germany, Spain, Italy. We have let them down and we've weakened them now in their negotiations with America. We have a responsibility for that.
I think the political tide has changed with regards to the EU.
Let me pause there. Mark's got in touch from Kent. Mark, welcome to the show. Go on, do you see this 10% tariff as a Brexit benefit? Mark, are you with us? Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Hiya.
Go ahead. Do you see this as a Brexit benefit, that 10% tariff?
I think, as I say, everyone bashes Brexit, but as I say, I think Brexit was actually a good thing. If it had been managed right in the first place, what Cameron should have done, Cameron should have said, I'm your Prime Minister, I will give you the vote, whichever way it goes, I'll be your Prime Minister the following day. But he didn't. He jumped in bed with the EU, nailed his colours to the mast that side, and then we get Theresa May trying to negotiate, and she was obviously pro-Europe.
Okay.
But as I say, if we'd have negotiated it properly, Brexit would have been a good thing.
All right, I don't want to sort of unpack the whole Brexit argument because, again, it's an ongoing. But explain to me how this is a Brexit benefit. Because, for example, the 20% tariff that's gone to the EU, that's estimated by the European Central Bank to cost the EU about 0.3 to 0.5% of their GDP. That's the hit they're expected to get. The 10% that we've got is estimated to be about 0.4% for us. So roughly the same hit. But we've got to add on that, Mark, that the OBR has estimated that Brexit is going to be costing the UK economy 4% of GDP. So in the long run, we're still worse off.
Well, then get our trade minister to get more trade deals done around the globe.
Well, what is that? What's happened to that? We were meant to have that trade deal with the US.
Again, it's mismanagement by the government. Mismanagement by the government. When I was a kid, we used to have stuff come from Australia, New Zealand, from the Cape. All good stuff. In 1974, we entered the common market, and everything then changed. Yes. And we had to pile money into Europe, have food mountains, and had to pay the farmers for not doing anything. Again, we're battering our own farmers. We're an island. So actually, for change, actually promote us as Great Britain again around the world and do proper trade deals. We go to India, we don't sign anything. We go to America, we don't sign anything. Again, that is mismanagement. If this government was, or the Conservatives before them, were actually running a company, they'd be bankrupt.
All right. Mark, you go to America, right? We want to do a trade deal with America, right?
Yep.
We say, right, we want to do a trade deal with you. And Trump says, OK, well, you've got to take our hormone-injected beef and our chlorinated chicken because that's part of the deal.
And let us buy the NHS, by the way, and sell us parts of the NHS. OK,
whatever. I mean, what do you do? How do you trade with such a huge economy that's got a big advantage over you?
OK, so don't say that is negotiations. Don't take what you don't want. Go to another country.
Mark, we were warned about Brexit that we wouldn't have a strong negotiating position if we left the EU. We don't have a strong negotiating position. That's why politicians are going around the world and failing to get decent trade deals. That's the whole point. We are tiny, as Lynn said earlier. We're tiny. We don't have the power or the strength.
No one believed in Brexit. If I got you to go out there and sell a car that you thought was absolute rubbish, you would not breed the results versus a person who believed in that car. And that's what happened with Brexit. We had pro-EU ministers and politicians.
Wait, Lynn, are you saying that Boris Johnson, 2019, got a whacking majority of 80, get Brexit done, Are you saying that Boris Johnson didn't believe in Brexit? He had Donald Trump in the White House.
He didn't do what was necessary to fulfil Brexit. So the coupling of politicians not doing what was required, and it doesn't just take, oh yeah, we believe in Brexit. It would have taken policies that would have really bolstered the UK, more investment in agriculture, education. Those are the things that needed to happen, and it didn't happen.
OK. All right. That was a sort of a balanced call.